right, guys, welcome to another episode of the FITT Podcast. And with my boy Yusuf, it's been a couple of weeks. We got, life is busy, man. Life is busy. So, tonight, what we're gonna talk about is weight loss. We have similar clientele, very, very similar clientele. Obviously, everyone has different goals, but we're gonna talk about kind of how people put a lot of stress and strain on themselves to try to, lose weight really quickly in a short period of time, how they kind of go to drugs. I know a lot of, the big deal now is like the drugs, weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Jardiance. A lot of those weight loss drugs people go to now instead of actually just putting in the work because they feel like I've tried, going to the gym, doing this nutrition stuff, and it's too much for me. I can't understand what I'm doing. No one helps me. I had a coach, and some people, I'm sure Yusuf can attest to this. He's heard they overpriced me. I mean, I have a guy, Yusuf, I'm going to go off on this, who told me, who I just recently brought on, he paid $350 a month for this coach. And this guy, like, didn't message him, didn't talk to him. He had some knowledge of what he was doing, but like in terms of training and nutrition, but like, he's just like, I felt like I was getting scammed. So, I was shocked by that, that people would pay that much. And I can see why people just go and rely on these weight loss drugs because it's out there, it's easy, it's accessible. And, you know, I mean, shoot, I'm in pain or soreness, I'm gonna pop and leave. That's the American way. Yeah, you
Oh yeah.
go to other cultures, man. That ain't the American way. Western civilized culture is very different than you go to Europe or especially
Mhm.
Japan, China, how they handle
Mhm.
those types of things. I mean, no offense, but I think we're one of the most obese countries in the world at this point. It's pretty sad. So, but do you got any points to kind of start us off? I know I kind of went on a little rant already, but
Yeah. I mean, no, man, I'm feeling the same energy that you're putting down too, man. It's been easily the biggest machine that we as health professionals need to be aware of. And I think the best thing that we can do is talk to somebody who, for example, is going through that. I have clients that have taken Ozempic. I have friends, even family, who are taking it right now. I'd love to learn about their experiences. I want to know exactly what they're going through. I mean, if you saw this Ozempic and Wegovy's, if you see them come out like 10, 15 years ago, I would probably be a lot more open to it than I am now, right?
yeah.
Um, and the more that I learn about somebody's, struggles and issues that they're going through, whether it's an emotional aspect of food or they've tried and they're in their mid 40s or 50s or they're even older and they've tried and it never was successful. I mean, I feel like there's so many situations where I can understand where a, medicinal intervention can be warranted. But predominantly, we're health guys. We think about what can we control, how can we combat it, and let's take the root cause into consideration before we start kicking the can down the road and start having these downstream effects of these decisions. But I mean, I'm more excited than ever before to talk about this type of topic, man.
Now,
I'm ready to go.
I have a question for you. Has your family or friends or clients who are taking it already seen a drastic weight loss or,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah. I would say on the more extreme end of the spectrum where they hop on their own protocol with their doctor, right, under a licensed physician. And I've seen some dramatic weight loss. I mean, dude, the most extreme weight loss that I've seen from my family members has been about 22 pounds in a matter of a month, which is insane, unreal, right? But it also really is just kicking the can down the road. And I mean,
exactly.
for
But the question is, though, and I know this, what kind of weight loss is that? Are you losing muscle with that? Are you just losing weight? Because you see people all the time with those drastic weight loss changes. I mean, Biggest Loser, they have all this dead skin. People don't realize that skin is never going to turn into muscle. That you cannot do that. There is so much excess fat on there that
Mhm.
you can't get rid of that unless you do surgery.
That's
So
right.
I always wonder with that drastic weight loss, it's the same thing with people who get a drastic gain in muscle. you get what is it? Stretch marks.
Yeah,
There's different
right.
stretch marks. You can get, yes, you can get stretch marks for gaining muscle. You can also get stretch marks for gaining weight in, areas that, the hips, the chest, very, very common areas. But I have stretch marks from my chest when I gained like 25 pounds sophomore year doing a powerlifting program with track and field in high school. So that was pretty normal. But other people can get it in other ways, regardless of the point. Um, that's 22 pounds. That's drastic, man. That is big.
It's crazy to see that, especially from this individual, who has never really been into fitness, right? I think of people in my family who don't really take care of their health as much as we do. Someone who's never worked out in their life, never really has taken into consideration, lifestyle changes. From them never having worked out to them on a medication and just completely trusting the medication because they don't take care of their exercise as scripted by a doctor. They'll recommend you to exercise, lifting weights, resistance training, and also taking care of your eating habits. Not, Majority of the users on this drug are not taking care of the root cause, even though they're recommended to, right?
Hmm.
But seeing this person's body just, I mean, she dramatically changed in physical size because a big part of it is, the childhood traumas and, the way that they had a relationship with their food all through their childhood and adolescence. They become adults, they have kids, and it's tough. I can totally see what she was going through and then the type of trauma that can lead to. But seeing somebody go from this large person to a normal looking person was just mind-boggling. Completely different person, different attitude, completely different outlook on life. But to your point of what you're saying, what kind of weight was that, right? What kind of composition was that? Um,
Exactly.
it really scares me. It scares me to know that it's almost that easy. It, I mean, I remember thinking like 5 years ago, I had this discussion with a trainer of mine. I remember wondering, I was like, if they were able to put resistance training, a proper nutrition program, and quality sleep and recovery, if they put that into one pill right now on the market, this is damn near the closest thing we have to it, right? But I still don't think there'll ever be a pill ever created that has the same benefits as resistance training, taking care of your nutrition the right way from the root cause, and also your recovery.
Oh,
But
yeah.
who knows? Who knows? In 20, 30 years from now, crazy, man. The way that medicine's going nowadays, I would not be surprised if they had an even better version or a revised version on those medication, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think the biggest thing, neither me or Yusuf, we're not gonna, for the audience watching, we're not gonna get into the details of the drug and exactly what it does because we could research that and you can research it if you are interested in using it. Obviously, talk to your primary care physician, talk to your doctor before you do that. I always research. I always tell people if you're going to take a new med, research the side effects. I mean, I got my drug guide book. It has every drug and it has the side effects, the peak dosage time, the peak onset, so you can kind of really learn about what you're putting into your body. Um, but we're not going to get too much into that because we are not as knowledgeable as we are. We are not medical doctors. We are not pharmacists that can actually give you that information. Out of respect to our knowledge, we're not going to talk too much into the drug itself. But what we will talk about is kind of why people choose to go that route, and how we both feel that sometimes that's not always it sometimes is one. I don't think it's the best option. It's the quickest solution, but as Yusuf said, you're kind of just kicking the can down the road because you can't. Eventually, there is what we call in the medical field. I mean, a stalemate where drugs, if you take them for so long, your body will kind of adjust its homeostatic levels to basically have that drug be not effective. Where if you take a leave or Advil every day, it's not going to be effective anymore. Your body is going to adapt to that feeling and it's going to automatically make you feel like that consistently. Obviously, that's how people get drug addictions and things like that. But in reality, it's really not having any effect on you. It's just your brain telling your body that it's having that effect on you. It's actually not working and doing what it's supposed to. So I really think that for people who are taking this drug, I think it's just more of like, I'm taking this pill. I've lost all this weight. I don't have to exercise now. I can still eat like shit. I can still eat unhealthy and do the things that I was doing prior that got me to this point where I had to go on to this drug, or these drugs or whatnot. And I do feel like there is just an easy solution to it. And I know some people will not believe that it's easy, but it is really simple if you just and I would also say it's almost a cheaper option too, because I heard that the drug is not cheap in any way, shape, or form. Um, I do believe it's a cheaper option. So I'm gonna kind of have Yusuf I'm gonna ask him a couple questions now and kind of pick his brain. What do you think? How would you handle a situation if a client of yours came up to you and is basically like, hey, like, I've been working with you for 2 months or a month. I haven't really seen the weight loss changes that I want. My body's not changing the way I want. I thought it would be done quicker. I'm thinking of talking to my PCP about taking this drug, you know, or drugs or weight loss drugs or trying this crazy diet, and changing everything up that we've been working on for a month. What would you say to a client? Because I'm sure people watching who have dealt with clients like this, or people who are the client themselves and like, oh wow, that was me. What would you say in that scenario? What would be your answer? I'm curious.
I mean, I feel like you can also agree with me on this when we coach people. I mean, coaching really is, I think, the essence of living what you're preaching, right? You really have to practice what you preach, right? I can't be telling anybody to follow this specific protocol with their nutrition, their food, their steps, their water, their protein intake, right? I can't tell anybody to do that if I'm not doing it myself, right? And I think that as coaches, we have to play this role and really be the essence of what we want our clients to be,
Hmm.
right? When it comes to being a role model, when it comes to being an ambassador of health, right? Because we truly, at the end of the day, are ambassadors for health. If you see someone who's a trainer or even a coach and they're not taking care of they're not even tracking their macros, they're not aware of their food they're putting in their body, they're not progressing in their workouts, they're not making time for their own gym time. I think it would do it injustice for me to tell somebody to, you know, be perfect on point with all of your food, your exercises. In a similar way, I really feel like what we have to do as coaches is that we have to obviously warn about the downstream effects of these type of things. We even don't know the long-term downstream effects of these type of things yet. Um, but really, what I strive to do every day of my life is really live exactly what I preach. I want to be the person in that client's life that is the exemplary person of health. I'd like to do my best to remove all the vices that I possibly can out of my own diet. Sure, we always have our own vices, right? All of our kryptonites, all of the things that we know are not serving us, the foods, the drugs, the alcohol, the stuff that we know is not exemplary for health. But what we do is that we not just preach and be, oh, this is what you should do, Andrew, this is what you're not doing right. You got to be like me before we start talking as if we're perfect. We have to really understand what that client is going through. So, this is a long-winded answer to really say that it's so unique to the individual. There's a reason why they hopped on that medication. And the sooner that you can understand why they hopped on the medication in the first place, more than just, oh, it's a cheaper alternative, right? I love asking these type of questions as a trainer or the coach. When I first take somebody on, I dig much deeper through that, right? Why do they even hop on, right? It is so easy, and if you have the means to afford it, it is the most mind-boggling, amazing drug in the world, right? But really, as a coach and as a trainer, I do everything I possibly can to educate and make fitness so simple for the average person. This is the machine that we're up against, right? It's a
Hmm.
simple, straightforward alternative to taking care of your health the right way and addressing the root cause. But I would say that as coaches, it's so important to not just be like, oh, that's cheating, right? I hear that a lot. That's cheating. Taking the drug that's cheating. And I think there's such a unique place for medications, and especially for this, for diabetes, right? For type 2, I see a lot of value in specific cases. And, we don't have to go into that just now, but really is being the natural, coach that we possibly can to do it the right way, to do it the proper way that we have been for the past 30, 40, 50 years now. being aware about all the foods that we're taking care, putting in our body, and even just long term, right? What does health look like to you in a lifetime perspective, not just in a 4 month program? How do we get the couch potato who has never exercised, is afraid of exercising? They don't want to get hurt. They don't want to have to change dramatically their food. How can we get that person moving a little bit every day? How can we get that person to be able to put better food in their body? Not necessarily take away all the junk food, all the food that they possibly, that is killing them, to be honest. But how do we get them to eat more whole foods? How do we get them? What is one change that we can do every day, if not every other day, to make their better quality health outcome right down the road?
Hmm.
Behavior change is the root essence of our job, right? And I think communication is obviously the most important thing as a trainer, as a coach, but also living, being the example of what health should look like, and not being, hey, I'm also on Ozempic too. I think you should try it out, client. I think you should hop on. It's going to help you out. Like it's really context dependent, but we have to be good examples, man, as coaches. That's probably one of the hardest things. I had to go to sleep with that night, knowing if I was off track with my food, if I was missing my workouts, I wasn't getting my steps in, I wasn't drinking my water. Like I had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, hey, who am I? Right? I can't tell my client to do it the perfect natural way if I'm not doing it myself. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, how do you think, if in that situation though, how do you feel like, how would you handle it? Um, would you kind of dig in and I know you talked about it for a second there, you kind of dig in and try to figure out the whys they want to do it, because I do feel like people will do this and they really haven't put in the effort or time to actually, they'll do it as like, well, now it's out there, so I can go take it, instead of actually, I feel like just trying, just giving exercise and eating healthy a shot before you go and put it is a drug.
Mhm.
There is going to be side effects, and that's something that we can at least talk about, that every drug has a side effect. There
Yeah.
is side effects to it. I've done the research on it before we did this episode. I'm like, again, I'm not going to talk about it, but you can go out there and read about it. There are significant side effects to the drugs that we put in our body, especially the weight loss drugs. There just are. So I just feel like it's almost kind of common sense. Why not give, eating healthy and lifting and training, or just finding a coach and giving it like 5 6 months, and just seeing, and then being like, hey, if you find a coach, you do something like, I'm gonna do this for 6 months, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna do this. You go plan B. Okay, that's fine. At least you tried. But I guarantee you, within 6 months, if you put in the time and effort, you're going to see changes within 6 months. It might not be massive changes depending on your body type and kind of your lifestyle and kind of the foundation that you have. But I do feel like it's important to almost, in a sense, not tell people not to, if they're like, oh, I want to take this drug because it's a weight loss drug and it's working. I wouldn't say not recommend them for, old coaches out there. And I would say, for at least from the physical therapy side, I'm sure we get it all the time. Um, occupational therapists, nurses. I mean, I'm sure people ask about it all the time. Should I take this drug? Blah, 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 the side effects. We're supposed to know that as PT. We also, we don't know every drug in the book. That's not our job. We know I'm not a pharmacist or MD, but um, I think the important thing is to try to at least tell people and educate them, like, that's not always the only solution. There is other options, there's other solutions out there that are actually better for your long-term health, and maybe even better for your short-term health, than you realize. Where I feel like almost you can kind of you can kind of agree with me or not. I'm curious. I sometimes I wonder if people who take these drugs, um, if they feel after a little bit of time, almost like psychologically, like, I lost this weight and it's great, but I don't feel like I lost it the right way, because maybe they have a friend or a colleague who lost a bunch of weight the correct way. I mean, there's not a correct way to lose weight. Let me say that. There's not a correct way. I apologize. There's never a correct way. People can take this drug because there is medical conditions that make it very hard for you to lose weight. There just is. People, it could be hereditary. People develop them as they age. There just is. So, the drugs, it's for anybody who wants it and for anyone who needs it. But I do feel like, there are still other options out there. And I feel like people just kind of poo-poo that and they give up too easily because psychologically it's harder. It just is easier to do it, boom, in a month and lose 22 pounds like your family member did than maybe go a whole month and lose 5 pounds, but you're developing, in my opinion, habits that will help you in the long run for the rest of your life, in my opinion. I don't know. What is your take on that?
Yeah, as a whole, I think overall, I would obviously recommend all the natural, things first, right? What can I control? I can control what time I go to sleep. I can control the food that I'm putting in my mouth. I can control what movement am I doing. And realistically, like when it comes down to that, I think that's just as hard as putting in this new thing in my mouth and digesting it and trusting that it's going to do the same work. I can eat a sweet potato. I don't know if this really gonna make me lose weight. Oh, I wonder. We take that gamble as well, right? Or if you get a coach and he tells you to eat this, and this for your first meal, eat that for your second meal. For that client, they're not sure. They're really trusting the coach. You're trusting the coach. You're trusting all the protocols. So I would actually argue in this sense, you are taking a gamble either way, right?
Hmm.
I think about what are the time tested, interventions, right? I think there's so much value in our health sphere, health industry, for wisdom. Okay, there's things that I feel like lots of net like the I guess what they would call Ayurvedic medicine, things that are natural remedies, right? There's wisdom and truth behind it. We may not have some research articles or some scholarly, papers about the value of, say Chinese medicine or even like old Indian medicine, but there's value in it. It was stuff that our grandmas, great grandmas did. I remember one of the things that my mom had me drink when I was a kid. It's one of those things that like brown parents understand and brown kids understand. If you woke up sick one day, your parents would make you this like turmeric ginger milk like mixture, and they swear that it would if you had a if your eye was bleeding, you take that and then your eyes heal.
I
Like
cannot attest to this because I am not brown. As you can tell, I am white, so I would not know this.
and like one thing I feel like I almost everyone can relate to is olive oil. I mean, olive
Oh,
oil is
that's true.
medicine. I remember I had to rub olive oil all over my forehead, my sinuses. I used to rub it on my chest like Vicks Vapor Rub. I used to be like, oh, olive oil is the medicine. And I don't know if it was a placebo. I'm not sure if it was just as a kid. I'm like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. But when I would take those ginger, little ginger shots, little milk, and it was like ginger, garlic. It's actually ginger, garlic, turmeric, and then milk. It was disgusting. I remember I used to have the perception that it would feel better. Oh, this is what you're supposed to do, and maybe the placebo made it work or something. But I think what we do is we control the natural interventions. What can I do when it comes to food? And why I love our job so much, I love fitness so much, is that it really is behavior change. The root essence is behavior change. I really love to focus on new people when we first intake somebody into our gym and for online coaching too, is what is it? There's a reason why somebody wants to lose weight in the first place, whether it is a pregnancy, for example, or they had their first kid, or they may have moved to a different city, to a different state, to a different country, lifestyle changes, stress, whatever it is, right? So if we can unpack the emotional aspect of food, we think about what are ways that we can change behaviors, right? Whether it's walking more, whether it's drinking water more, oh my gosh, or whether it's simply chewing slower. It's insane the amount of nuance that we can get into, and if we address the reason why they even hopped on that pill to begin with.
Oh yeah. And I feel like, you know, one of the I am curious a little bit. I mean I've been published a couple times for research studies, but I am curious, and I'm sure they've done. I've tried to look it up. If they I know they have to do thousands of testing and whatnot with placebos before they actually obviously the FDA approves for this drug to be administered. I am curious though, in a sense, just to do a research study on it of people who take the drug and do exercise and eat healthy for 6 months, how much more weight they lose than people who just take the drug. But also, and I think it would have to be a long-term study, obviously, because you might not lose as much weight quickly if you, I mean, I don't know, it could vary, but it would be a long-term study. And then the third group would be more of a placebo. So they think that they're taking the drug and they're doing exercise and nutrition. Now, how would that affect it? Would it be, you know, are they just going to half-ass the exercise and nutrition because they think they're taking the drug? Or are they going to go all out because they're like, okay, I got this, but I got the drug, but I also want to make sure I develop good routines and habits. And I wonder where that weight loss would stand long term, and the health and the side effects and all that stuff, how, not taking the drug would change taking the drug with exercise. I think that would be very, very interesting study because obviously, as you know, just for prescription, exercise, typically the best thing is eating healthy and exercising. You can't do one without the other. So you can't eat healthy and not exercise because you're not going to actually build muscle mass that way. You can't you can't exercise but not eat like healthy because then your time at the gym is just being wasted. So you got to do both. Now obviously some people would say 80-20, 80 nutrition, 20 in the gym. I would say more 70-30 because I think it also depends on how you train in the gym. And it's not just, you're being with each exercise, you have a specific intent of what you are doing this exercise for. Some people just go into the gym and are like, oh, fuck. Wow, what am I gonna do today? Oh, there's a bench open. Cool, man. Like I'm gonna bench today. Although I just fucking benched yesterday, Or people just go like, well, let me look up this, C Bum fitness app and see what exercise he gives me. Honestly, like I totally I don't know Chris Bumstead. I mean, you know him more about me. Like, I mean, looks like an amazing guy. Obviously, I'm one of the best bodybuilders in history. But I'd also say like that app is not for everybody. It's not for your average Joe Schmo who has never really gone to the gym before. Like those people need to understand why they're doing it, what muscles they're targeting, and they also need to be given, help with their diet and nutrition because you just go to the gym and then you go to Taco Bell after. I mean, that ain't gonna do anything. It's just gonna give you a belly, and you're gonna be wondering like, where's all that? Like, I thought I would gain muscle. So I think that would be a curious study, and I'd be very interested in that. But I have a question for you. Like, do you feel like with your clients, in terms of weight loss, do they get, if they come in and their goal is like, I want to lose this many pounds by this and this, I'm sure that's a very common thing. Do you do you have to, do you do like kind of try to pick their brain a little bit and psychologically try to get an idea of like, okay, is this person someone who I can kind of like push a little bit more? Do I have to be more easygoing? Or, if something goes wrong or they don't, have only lost 10 pounds in 3 months, are they going to kind of get down and quit? Like, do you kind of pick their brains? What do you kind of do in that introduction process?
That's exactly right. I mean, truly, what we do before we even take on anybody, right, we really want to know what their why is. I mean, that's everything to me about fitness, right? There's a reason why you started lifting weights when you were a little kid, too. There's a reason why someone who's never worked out before is going to be sustainable with their goals and exercising every day. It's about how you communicate. It really is about knowing what their why is. If you know somebody's why, I tell you, you have the key to behavior change. You have the key to long-term success because you know what even brought them into this position. It's so sad you see people that spend 30, 40 years, 50 years even, their entire life eating processed foods, junk food, inflammatory foods, food that is not good for their gut microbiome. And then they want to make that change when they realize people are dying in their family, their close loved ones are have poor health outcomes, they run to the hospital, urgent care, just like very scary situations, right? When reality really hits, when your life or a loved one's life is so close to the end of it, and you wonder, what could I have done? That feeling of regret, right, is enough to make somebody start exercising more. It's enough to make somebody be like, no, that's not my future. That's not what's going to happen. My grandparents, their parents also passed away from diabetes and these heart conditions, stroke. And then it takes that, maybe that, rock bottom or that death in the family, that gets somebody to start taking their health seriously. I think in this age of just access, we have so much access to everything. Yeah, it's insane. I swear. You can still be homeless and have a smartphone. You can have
Somehow,
so much.
somehow, man, like if I was homeless, I would sell my phone to, get some money or something, but somehow, get a cheaper phone, flip phone. But
Go phone, right? Remember those in 2005? Go
oh
phone.
man, I remember my flip phone, and I think it was like fourth or fifth grade. I had a flip phone, and I thought that was the shit, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Bro, mine used to slide up. I used to have to slide. People were jealous of me because I got a, boop, I had one of those sidekicks. Mm.
Oh, yes. Was it the one? It wasn't there was ones that slid up vertically, and then there was ones that flipped or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It like scooped up and it flipped upright.
Yes.
Um,
The
and
small keyboards, man. Yeah, that was the thing.
oh man, my skinny ass little thumbs could fit on those the little buttons. Now I can't even do that. I used to also use T9, man. Back in the day, bro, we had like very little, and now we have so much access to so many resources, and
Mhm.
it blows my mind just the fact that we can run to the quick weight loss result and be like, what can I do now, right?
Mhm.
But navigating that whole system as a coach, really, when we bring somebody on, we think about their why, we ask deeper questions as to what got them even to step foot in the gym, what got them interested in doing it the right way, right? So when you talk about these type of things, you could really see why they're coming to you to begin with. And
Oh
if
yeah.
there's somebody that's actually looking to take care of their health long term, we can educate. That's someone who's a lot more receptive to these, natural, remedies, the walking, the water, right? The mindfulness, right? One thing I talk a lot about with my new people is mindfulness, right? Just taking a second when every day is busy, when there's always kids to be dropped off or picked up, or when you're late for work every morning. It's those behaviors that lead into other behaviors that lead to weight loss. It's never really just waking up super late is going to make you gain weight. It's like, or even eating a certain time before sleep, right? Right? Like that's not going to all of a sudden make you fat. It's just like it's the behaviors, and if we can address the behaviors, we can impact somebody's life for the better.
Hmm.
Um, Especially when people have had no education on anything, no one in their family is like a role model for health. When someone just doesn't know what they don't know, you can make a huge change in somebody's life just by getting them to change one behavior, and they
Oh,
do that 1 or 2 days or times a week, or whether it's 2 days walking extra, taking the long way, taking the stairs up to their office building, or parking further away from their office. It's that time that it takes to realize I'm doing something different, that they need to take a second to be like, yes, this is an active action, and this is going to get me closer to my goal. When we can love the journey so much more than the destination, we can get amazing behavior change.
oh yeah. And I think, I forgot my point. I was just gonna make a good point. I forgot what it was about something that you said. Um, I think the biggest thing that with weight loss, and we'll do another episode hopefully next week, probably next week, and we'll continue on this topic. But um, I really do think that with weight loss, like you said, having the people and clients and just average every Joe Schmo, even as a PT, having my patients in their rehab. I mean, a lot of times patients, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. They have a lot of times post-op patients, work conditioning. Um, I'm sorry, post-op patients will go through their rehab. 6 months, and then they'll do work conditioning to get back into shape for their work environment. Because a lot of times, patients will come from hard manual labor construction jobs, or, you know, UPS, post office. Those are hard manual labor jobs. One of the cool things that I think is work conditioning. They're constantly, it's 2 or 3 hours of constant lifting, carrying, exercises. So it's a workout, and sometimes that inspires them to actually go back to the gym, because
Mhm.
they're like, holy shit, I'm out of shape, you know. And now that's normal post-op. You can't go to the gym when you just had, arthroscopy and rotator cuff repair, for a full thickness tear or partial, whatever it may be. Um, you can't obviously do a whole lot. Or if it's meniscectomy or hip replacement, knee replacement, whatever it may be. Can't do a
Mhm.
lot. But I do think that's very cool to kind of see, and have patients realize it on their own.
Mhm.
Like, holy crap, or even sometimes patients do, I don't know. I mean, we have them lift to get prepared to go back to work. And they're like, holy crap, I actually have to, and I'm like, well, why have you considered, instead of just saying, yeah, that would be good. For myself and my standard, I kind of just asked them, like, hey, have you ever considered going back to the gym, going to Planet Fitness? Although I don't like Planet Fitness, it's great for a lot of people, the average day person. And it's just, props if you can get in there and start going, develop a routine. Hey, man, better props to you. So, but um, what do you think about? We got a couple of minutes left here, but what do you think is? Do you feel like weight loss is more of a physical struggle with patients? Obviously, every person's different. Or you feel like it's more like physical, emotion, or like psychological? What do you feel like the weight loss is?
I mean, I would say out of those options, psychological is probably the most appropriate.
Mhm.
And it really is biopsychosocial.
It's all,
There's
I didn't want to say that. It's all three, but really I want to pick one. You know.
it really is. But I mean, even myself, I mean, every prep that I do, I experience it every year when I'm on my diet. I see the hardest thing is doing the same thing every day consistently when
Mhm.
all of life's stresses get thrown at you, when there's irregular schedules, when you're traveling, when you come home late, and then now the next 3 days you're getting crappy sleep. When we're able to just do one thing, whether it's train or whether it's getting all your food measured out exactly right to the T or getting my water intake in, it's like the hard part is doing the same thing every day, rain or shine, black and white. You either did it or you didn't do it.
Mhm.
Which is hard for myself, right? It's totally harder psychologically. It's harder to know that, damn, I gotta do this every day. I gotta wake up tomorrow, do the same thing every day. So
Mhm.
by far, it is a lot more psychological. You change your body, man. You're used to having your body look a certain way, and you're not used to it. You look in the mirror, you're like, for better or worse. You look in the mirror, and it's changing. So easily, it's much more hard through psychology for sure.
And I definitely would agree with that point, 100%. And we'll get more into this next week. Because in terms of weight loss and kind of the struggles, psychologically, mentally and emotionally, I think that's going to be a great topic to kind of start off on next week. There's a lot to untangle there. So, all right, guys, that's it for tonight's podcast. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. And other than that, have a good night. All right, take care.